Welcome back to Relationships at Work, the leadership mindset guide for creating a workplace we love. I'm your host, Russel Lolacher, a communications and leadership nerd with a couple of decades of experience in both those areas. I also bring with me, much like you do, a whole heap of curiosity on how we can make the workplace a better place. Now, if you're a leader trying to understand and improve your impact on work culture and the employee experience, well, you're in the right place. It's our weekly mini episode, a quick and valuable and under 10 minutes bit of information on top of our regular show that helps us reset and rethink our leadership mindset. So our mini episode topic today, duality resistance. Two things can be true. Take this in for a minute because we can't always admit that two things can be true in the workplace, the good and the bad. I want to start with the duality that prevents us from addressing the challenging, the concerning. It's hard to comprehend this sometimes because we speak and understand from our own experiences, our own biases, our worldviews. Of course we do. We're human beings. Here's the thing though. Our experience is not the same experience others are having when it comes to another person within the workplace. Sometimes they're the same, but sometimes they aren't. For example, that manager has been so great in helping my career. Hey, that's the same manager that helped us in our career. Love that person. Great. Hearing that reinforces what we already believe. That makes a lot of sense. But how about this? That manager provides no psychological safety. I can't be honest with them without having some sort of retribution or hurting my career. Hey, that's the same manager that was there for me when I needed them to fix my problem with my boss. That can't possibly be true. Yeah, it can. Two things can be true. That manager can provide no psychological safety for their team and be very revenge focused or really about punishing anybody that speaks truth to power, and also be the same person that helped you fix that problem or advance your career. They can be both those things. Great leadership that is trying to understand their culture and the employee experience need to take in differing experiences than their own and treat it with equal value. As that last example illustrated, think about it from an identifying troublesome leadership standpoint. Let's start there. Hey, I just wrapped up the 7 Deadly Sins of Leadership series on these mini episodes, so it's kind of top of mind. Did you know a leader can be a champion of ideas, but also a roadblock for others' ideas? They can be a source of great advice, but also be inaccessible for some. They can be a mentor for our success, and yet provide horrible feedback to others. Throughout my career and in talking with so many others, I've come across conflicting perceptions of leaders. While one person says they are the worst, others can't comprehend it, can't wrap their brain around it because they've been so great for them. They've seen the best in them. A great person who you love chatting with can also be a horrible leader. A great team you love working with can also have a horrible reputation. And a colleague who is there for you to help your career can also be a huge challenge for others. Our experiences are not everyone's experiences. How a leader interacts with you can be very different in how they interact with others for tons of reasons. But at the very least, we have to acknowledge that this is a thing. No one and nothing is only one thing. Not our bosses, our leaders, our colleagues, our employees, not us. But as leaders, if we dismiss stories of other people's experiences because that isn't our experience, we're actually part of the problem. It's important to approach all situations with respect, compassion, and open-mindedness. So if it's bad leadership we're having duality issues over, here are a few steps that we can help with that. First, it's important that we identify that duality is even happening and its impact. We have to recognize these specific dual behaviors or characteristics and then try to figure them out as they affect the team and individual members. Like, how does it impact morale, productivity, the overall work environment, culture? We can't address problems if we can't admit they exist. Second, if this is possible, communicate our concerns. We need to communicate our observations and concerns to the leader directly. but in a constructive way. They may not be open to feedback. We're going to have to use specific examples, focus on the behavior, not the person. And if that isn't an option, this is not a person that's going to welcome that kind of feedback, well, you may need to speak to HR or a trusted higher up, a mentor, someone to get the word out about it. Another thing we can do is, well, we're going to have to adapt and protect. We're going to have to figure out some strategies just to protect ourselves and our team from this kind of behavior. This could involve clear boundaries. It could be finding ways to work around that negative behavior, or just building a strong team culture independently to help with resiliency. I like this one. I like this as a suggestion because it's something we can control. Focusing on our self-awareness and professional development. Why not just use this situation as a learning opportunity? Reflect on what makes a good leader, what doesn't, and use those insights to develop our own leadership so we can model what it's supposed to look like. And also consider long-term solutions, because if you're dealing with duality that isn't working, and if it doesn't improve, and it continues to negatively impact you, your team, the culture, you might have to consider some long-term solutions like transferring departments, looking for a different role, or exploring opportunities outside the organization. We don't talk about quitting enough, I think, sometimes. And sometimes, you know what? It's too much effort. It's too much time. You have to live your life too. You have to support yourself before you can help anybody else. So if this is something that's really hurting your mental health, you may have to look for some harsh solutions that way. Now to the good when it comes to duality. And it can be good. Understanding this duality can prevent us from our preconceived notions as leaders about our team members and colleagues too. Bear with me on the good part here. As a leader, it's so important to understand that our teams, our colleagues, can be resilient, but also still need to take a break. They can be kind and giving and still need to be firm about defining their boundaries. They can be decisive. They can be very action-oriented in making decisions, but also change their mind, especially as they learn more information, as their experience grows. Two things can be the same. Good and bad duality. We can't be so rigid in our understanding of people. Of course, it's so much easier to label people simple things. We do it all the time. It's how our brains work to better understand. You are this person, I'll work with you in this way. It's not really open-mindedness. It's certainly not embracing diversity, equity, inclusivity, belonging. We're so busy, it's so much easier to make things simple and one-dimensional. The problem is we're not simple, and neither are the humans around us. If we truly want to prioritize and focus on a healthy culture, we can't dismiss experiences that aren't our own, or be too simple in our definitions of others, because it's not our initial singular experience. Two things can be true. Duality exists. Actually, there's a lot more than two sides to things, but it's a good place to start. And the workplace will be better if we understand that. And that will do it for another episode of Relationships at Work, the Leadership Mindset Guide to Creating a Workplace We Love. I'm Russel Lolacher. Always a pleasure to spend time with you. Thank you for being so generous with yours and prioritizing understanding leadership's impact, good and bad, and how we can do better in the workplace and for our teams and employees. You have a great day. If you've enjoyed the podcast, I encourage you to tell others and maybe leave a review on Apple or Spotify about your experience and all those 5 stars that recommend the show, because it just helps the show grow. And I appreciate that a lot. Take care.